I just bought a movie camera, 8mm movie camera in the PX. This was taken on probably around April the 4th. That was right after we got ambushed and lost Lieutenant Hata. Okay, it's time to saddle up. We're loading up for the ride to Liz from LZ Bronco. Notice the rucksacks. I'm sure you all remember those. Notice no steel pots. Yeah, we got rid of them. Didn't carry them anymore. See a bunch of guys. Eddie Cobb. Been trying to locate him. Tex Cobb. Mark Sutlick. There's my rucksack. I was a M203. I got one of the first ones they issued. I kind of fell in love with that. Here we are in the trucks. There's Coach Middleton. He was at the last reunion. Don Hyson, still looking for him. And here's the countryside of Vietnam. We're on Highway 1 on the way to Liz. Sorry for the shakiness. I tried to tell the truck driver to stable it, but he didn't listen to me. That's Bronco, looking back to Bronco. So we're in Duc Pho at this point. And there's the highway vendors. Highway, yeah, it's kind of a joke. I'm sure for you guys that were there in 67, 68 in that area, things hadn't changed much. Always amused me to see them overload those jitneys. There's the ladies. Must be leaving school. There's a dead VC. That's the school. I think that was a kind of like a high school or something. That's Liz in the background. It was actually pretty country. Now you can't forget that. That's the old bombed out or church. Don't know exactly what happened to it, but I've got pictures in 1967. It doesn't look much different. And there's a community, homeowners association, I'm sure. Must have been an old French church. Anyone who served in this AO remembers that church. It's just a landmark. I've gotten guys with videos from 67, 68. They have videos of the church, pictures. You know, they all remember this area. Living arrangements for the Vietnamese wasn't the greatest in the world. There we are, herding cattle. Areas off the road. We must have stopped for some reason. That's the old Arvin military base. That's a joke. And there's us walking, that we've gotten off the trucks and we're walking up to Liz. We're then trucked to LZ Dragon, to be picked up by the 116th Hornets and inserted into the Song Ve Valley. Here you can see Bronco, you can see Liz on the map, you can see Dragons just north. Saddle up, waiting for the 116th Hornets to pick us up. You can see there's my rucksack. I was a 203 Grenadier. That was when that weapon first came out. I didn't want to carry a 79 because there was no rifle with it, but ooh, somebody was taking something into the bush. Rex Cowan, trying to locate him. There's all the coke kids that came out to sell us whatever they sold us. This is on LZ Dragon. It was just north of LZ Liz. And this is where, here comes the Colonel's Loach, Colonel Brogan. And he's coming in to to meet with the captain, Captain Ross. See Captain Ross there? The co-kids. These kids, we saw these guys a lot. They would come out in the bush, find us, and they would bring a block of ice and Coca-Colas, and boy, we liked that. Hanging out, getting ready for the birds to pick us up. Pretty lady. And I gave this kid my weapon, my rucksack, and I guess we trusted him, needless to say, because he's sitting there with a loaded M203. I must have been nuts. There's another kid that we dressed him up. Boy, I don't think you'd do that in Afghanistan or Iraq. And here I am, loading up my, and then boom! Gary Harwick, good friend. I miss him. Get on the birds. Well, birds came to pick us up. Here's one of the first 1/16th Hornets landing. I picked up all my equipment, put it on, got the camera in the right hand and my 203 in the left hand, and I'm running to the bird. There's the bird next to us. That's the pilot. I've got contact with him. That's Norm Rogenbuck. I found him about a year ago. I called him and had a good buddy of his, Willie Payton, on the phone that was looking for him, and I got those two guys together. We're lifting off. I got my legs hanging out. I got the camera still in my right hand. I'll hold my M203 in the left, and usually you got your hand on something so you don't fall out. There's the Door Gunner's M60 machine gun. We're just on a lazy ride. And there's one of the birds behind us. Couple in front. That's OP Frag. I was actually, first platoon was there for about a month, I think back in January or February. It was actually a great place because we kind of had beds. It was a good place to be. We got more hot food there. Anyway, we're headed to the Songve Valley. This is April the 10th, 1971. The Songve Valley is a place we didn't want to go to. It was a haven for NVA. It was probably one of the worst spots, at least in our area of operations. It was pretty though. I'd gotten back from R&R. I went back to the U.S. When they announced 7 days, and they gave me new boots. They didn't want me to leave Nam with those. So I looked like FNG with those new boots. We're getting closer, so the Door Gunner's getting his 60 ready. I'm looking through the bird on the other side. That's some of my buddies, Delta Company. There's the gunship, Stinger. Sorry for the bumpiness. I asked the pilot to kind of keep it steady, but he wouldn't listen to me. I've been told by the History Channel my videos taken by a grunt, taking a movie camera into the field, are extremely rare. As many of you know, History Channel contacted me, and my footage was used in the documentary Vietnam in high definition. Got back from Vietnam, threw everything in the closet, and for 30-something years I blocked it all out, and was lucky I found them. Here we are landing. We're coming in. Bravo Company is on the ground, so we're relieving them. And the objective was the next day that we would go up the hill where Alpha Company was located, and we would relieve them also. As we were landing, these guys were waiting to get on the birds. It's amazing, I got connected to the guy on the right, Angelo on a velo, and we've shared some very fantastic discussions. It must have been meant to be. They were scheduled to go on stand down. There's Bravo Company leaving. Another gunship. I was on one of the first birds to land, so I was able to get some pretty good shots. There's another formation ready to come in. Here's a couple birds getting ready to land. Fortunately, it was a cold LZ, so they must have rattled everybody. There was a lot of artillery and gunships going in before we landed, just to make sure that we didn't get ambushed. Here's a bird landing, and LTD, Lieutenant Tony DiCamilio, is there giving me the peace sign. He's a great officer. We loved him. I've got in touch with him. I can't seem to get him to come to the reunions, but maybe in the next 2 years, hopefully he'll see these videos and he will come. Now, he's a photographer up at Yale University, and you gotta appreciate this stuff. See the red smoke? Carrying a load. Lifting off the birds. I think at this point we've been inserted, and we're ready to go to our day position, start running patrols, and search and destroy. You gotta love those gunships. When you needed them, they were there, and they could make the enemy run pretty damn quick. Well, we're in our position. We're getting ready to set up our day position, start our patrol. We were dropped at the bottom of the mountain in the flatlands, and the whole idea was we were going to hump up the next day and relieve Alpha Company, who was at the top of the hill. They had been there for a number of days. It was Easter Sunday, and we were actually told there was going to be a ceasefire. We got up that morning, and we found out the chaplain was going to come out and give us Easter Sunday services, which he did. We got a hot meal, and then one of the birds came in to pick him up and take him up to Alpha Company and do the same for them. I'll never forget what happened next. When the chaplain's bird came back to pick him up, I turned to Mark Sutlick and I said, I don't feel good about this. We were watching. I mean, they weren't too far above us. And all of a sudden there was explosions, and the NBA ambushed, blew up the chaplain's bird, and all hell broke loose. Dolphin 21, that was the chaplain's bird, was hit by either a M79 or an RPG, and the men of Alpha Company courageously assisted the crew and passengers as it exploded 5 times. The attack was extremely well coordinated. They hit Alpha Company with small, large caliber automatic weapons, satchel charges, grenades, and M79. Unfortunately, when it blew up, the blades were still whipping, and it got several of the men of Alpha Company. At this point, we had to sit and watch all this happen. We were pretty angry that we weren't rushed in. The Phantoms were dropping 500-pound bombs. It was a nasty situation. Alpha Company rushed in reinforcements on Dust-Off 54. And then men from Bravo Company were flown in. The lieutenant that led them, Tom Dolan, is a friend now. Been contacted by everyone listed. Dale Spratt, talked to him. Very sad situation with him. When he came in to take out bodies, he looked in the back. He was getting ready to lift off, and he looked back on the floor. There were some ponchos covering some of the bodies, and the rotor whip knocked one of the ponchos off, and he saw that it was his crew chief, his normal crew chief. The guy had volunteered to take the chaplain out, and his friend and crew chief was killed. Because I posted these videos in tribute on YouTube, they've been seen by over 2.5 million people, and a lot of people that were involved that day found the videos, watched them, and got in contact with me. One in particular was the captain of the chopper that was shot down. 7 days after he contacted me, the pilot, Bob Chipley, and his wife were sitting in my living room reminiscing those days. It was pretty emotional. The battle lasted all night. Shadow came in and with their 4 miniguns, and we were up all night. It was very dramatic. We sat there wanting to go to the rescue and never got the chance. Been contacted by everyone listed. Dale Spratt, talked to him. Very sad situation with him. When he came in to take out bodies, he looked in the back. He was getting ready to lift off, and he looked back on the floor. There were some ponchos covering some of the bodies, and the rotor whip knocked one of the ponchos off, and he saw that it was his crew chief, his normal crew chief. The guy had volunteered to take the chaplain out, and his friend and crew chief was killed. Because I posted these videos in tribute on YouTube, they've been seen by over 2.5 million people, and a lot of people that were involved that day found the videos, watched them, and got in contact with me. One in particular was the captain of the chopper that was shot down. He explained to him how their loved ones were killed, and I felt it was my duty to bring closure to their lives. It was very emotional, though. The film I took that day has been in 4 documentaries. It's really changed my life. I'm focused on finding guys and bringing them together and helping veterans, no matter Vietnam, Afghanistan, Panama, whatever. I would really appreciate it after watching this if you would say welcome home to a Vietnam vet. We never got one, and it's hurt us.